just based on what we're seeing, based on the idea that some of the states where the senators had been kind of holding out, they're now seeing higher cases of coronavirus. Do you think we'll get another stimulus plan that makes its way through the entire Washington process?
Oh, I hope so, Becky. But let's talk a little bit about the crisis for a moment, if we can. I think right now it's clear to all of us that the economy is a hostage to the virus. You and I have talked about this from the very beginning of this crisis, where I've pointed out that the depth of the economic problems are going to be determined by the duration of the pandemic. The economic problem is at core a health problem. The two are inextricably linked. The big problem we have today is that the reopening has gone poorly, very poorly, and we're at an inflection point. It's clear in the health statistics, which you quoted at the beginning of this piece today, and it's becoming increasingly clear in the high-frequency data that's beginning to affect the economy. I saw some data yesterday from Raj Chetty, the professor at Harvard, which was credit card receipts at small businesses. They had been down 33% during the peak of the shutdown, had gone down to being down just 12%, but now are back up to down 20%. It's very clear that what's happening right now in the economy is negative, and that will soon be reflected in the backward-looking data that we get. We are going to need I think, a new round of relief, but I think the most important thing we need right now is a national plan for a lockdown and reopening. It's time for that.
Yeah.
It would have to be national in scope. It would have to be based on science and medicine with clearly defined indicators of the severity of the crisis. It would could be based on work by Brookings, the Center for American Progress, AEI. Your guy Scott Gottlieb was a author of one of these. It would look a lot like what's happening in New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. It would, I think, be the only way to lead us out of this crisis, because the pandemic is likely to continue unless we have a plan like that, and as a consequence of which we're unlikely to have a steady upward trajectory in the economy, which means, as a consequence of which, we'll need more relief measures.
I don't see national leaders having the tolerance or the political will to push through something like that. I don't see lots of areas of the country agreeing to go along with something like that. There would be places that would, but I think there are a lot of places where the cases are very minimal right now, and where they would not agree to go back into a lockdown that creates some of this economic damage. I don't disagree with you that the economic damage could come either way. I think we've seen that with what happened in Sweden and how they handled it. But I just don't know that there is the political will to push through something like that. Do you think otherwise?
Well, I would make 2 points. One is that it certainly is working reasonably well in the northeast part of the United States. So we have had the political will. Some of the political will comes from our leaders clearly and cogently explaining to us why we have to do it, and then practicing the behaviors in their own conduct, taking leadership. But some of it also can be done on a regional basis within the context of a national plan. This is my second point, because if you have declining medically based, scientifically determined indicators of the crisis, then you have clear phases of the opening that you can put into place. So if you had a different situation in Massachusetts than you have in Arizona, you could have different kinds of actions in those two places based upon the clear scientifically based indicators. I mean, the problem is right now we don't have a uniform approach that allows for that kind of regional application.